Welcome to episode 2 of the Sober Stretch podcast for anyone that's got a problematic relationship with alcohol, drinking, getting smashed, sesh heads, you name it. We were two of them. I'm Gary. My mate here is Craig, and he's going to tell you what we're going to talk about today.
Cool. So, first of all, how are you? You all right?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, not bad. Daughter's birthday, sunny day, parents are here. All good, man.
Life's good. Happy birthday
So,
to your daughter.
cheers, mate.
Funky t-shirt you got on as well.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
What is it? M&M's?
M&M's, yeah. It's a throwback to, I don't know, the Manchester era of the baggy era. So, yeah. How's it going?
Nice, mate. Nice. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Glad the sun's out, like you said. Makes a big difference. So, what we're going to talk about today is basically the journey of sobriety. So, what you have to go through, the process to get into your final destination, if you like. I've probably used the worst terminology in the world there. Just kind of like what you've got to go through, withdrawals, sleep, loads of different things that you have to go through to get to the good part, essentially. All right. I'm sure we'll both agree it is tough. And I don't know the percentages, but I'm sure a lot of people try and fail because it is such hard work.
Do you know what? I read a percentage, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that only 4% of people that go to AA stay sober. That might be absolute bollocks, but that's what I've read. I've read it in 2 places, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
4%, that is mad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's low as fuck, man. And I know why. You know why, because it's hard, and how many times have we tried to do it ourselves, you know? But when it when it finally sticks, it's... And then you look back on the journey. There's a lot to like unpack, isn't there? And you're right. The first period is grim, but the payoff is amazing. So yeah.
I think it's scary as well because normally, unless you go to AA or things like that, sobriety is something that you're going through on your own. It's your own problem. A lot of the time, you don't have people to talk to about it, so it is very scary. You're finding a lot out about yourself. It's a massive test of your willpower, and that's why I think this video is going to be really important and really insightful for people. I feel like it's going to help them a lot, which is why I really want to talk about it, because I was forever YouTubing or Googling, thinking or writing in there saying, is it right for me to feel like this? And then Google will end up saying, "Now you're going mad," which isn't the case 9 times out of 10.
No, you're going from mad to normal slowly, and it's like it is a slow process. It's so important that like people work out that you don't get sober in 3 weeks.
I know.
You stop drinking in the space of a day, but getting sober, I've said before to you, I think, that it took me almost about 3 years before I felt like a normal person. I might have even said it on last week's podcast. It was obviously there's so much growth in that period, but I mean, you can't just expect to the magic switch to sort you out in the space of a couple of months. It's just bollocks.
No. I spoke to one guy at work who actually told me about AA when I was already 6 months sober, because I still didn't feel, I still thought, I don't know, I just thought, why is my head still fucked? Do you know what I mean? I thought this was meant to be good not drinking. And he said to me about going to AA, and he said when he was 4 years sober, he randomly had a load of like flashbacks from when he was pissed and out of his mind, and a load of shit just come to him to his like overnight, and he just started to apologizing to people that he hasn't spoken to for years, because he started remembering all this shit that he'd done and felt bad for it, and that was like his brain after 4 years just popped up with it.
Well, there you go. Like, I don't think it's not possible for there to be like an off switch. It has to be a gradual. It's like a dimmer light, isn't it? It's like slowly. And even after 4 years, if you haven't done those apologies early on, like AA suggests, then it might linger. You know, I still get moments of shame, like shameful moments pop into my head still randomly. I might be walking to the shop and think, oh God, I did that day. God, how embarrassing. You know, and there's a load of people to apologize to. Loads of people to apologize to. But
Too many.
cathartic and it's good for them and it's good for you. And if it ain't good for them, well, at least you tried, you know?
Exactly.
So I think like going over some of your old ground and for your own recovery benefit, cleansing and, you know, nipping some stuff in the bud and putting an end to it, and getting closure on certain things is a good thing.
No,
Well,
definitely.
yeah.
And also as well, I feel like the majority of people will be understanding, because when you're out your head, you're practically a different person. It's as if it's not you. I don't know anyone that would say that they would think the same way that they would if they were sober or after 10 pints. You're not going to do the same things, are you? So, but yeah, if with regards to like if we say the first month, then because we've never spoke about this, what was your first week, first month? What was it like when you finally decided to knock on the head?
The first week was like clinging on for dear life, really.
I shouldn't laugh, but I know how bad it is, mate.
The first week's grim. The first week is mentally terrifying. It's physically overwhelming because that change of, you know, guaranteed beer, whatever you're drinking, but you know, I drank a lot of lager, just, you know, almost like water. When that just disappears, it's such a shock to the system. So like my first 3 or 4 days, I just lay on the sofa sweating. I mean, I lived
Yeah,
in the hottest city in
yeah,
Europe, which didn't help,
yeah,
but I was just sweating and shaking and felt anxious as fuck.
yeah,
Just all of the negative feelings just starting to like pour out of me in the first few days. And it's almost like it's like a boxer who gets hit and he's like all over the place and thinks, right, I've got a minute to get to the end of this round, and then I can sit down in a chair and just
yeah,
you know, get a bit of you know, breathing space. And I felt like that for the first, God, really for the first month, but particularly the first few days where I was just like, you just have to get to midnight and not drink, and the
yeah,
emotions. I tried not to pay too much attention to them because I knew it was, you know, it's like a come down. If you've been on the pingers
yeah.
or something, you know it's not in a couple of days it'll fade. And it did fade and it got easier. Yeah, the first week was just like a physical. I
Mm,
think in the first week you should just forget about the mental side of it and just focus on like physically getting well enough to, you know, exist normally by the end of the week.
yeah. Um, that does resonate with me a lot, actually, because it comes in waves, doesn't it? Um, and it is like being hit by a brick wall, and just being able to get yourself through it and tell yourself, I will get through it, it's just a moment, blah blah blah. Don't have a drink, because then you're just gonna have to start all over again. So no, I can completely understand that. And unfortunately it doesn't just stop there, does it?
No.
Because you've got to learn to live again without your coping mechanism. You've got to actually be able to go through stress, have normal thoughts that normal people do. Not every day is beautiful, sunshine and rainbows. And you've got to learn to live again without your coping mechanism, which is a mad thing, especially if you've been drinking for 15, 20 years. You're thinking, what the fuck? How am I gonna cope? It's like your shield, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think we were both similar in that we drank every day. You know, there are some people that have got a problem that might get rinsed from Thursday to Sunday and then they don't, you know.
Yeah.
But I think our bodies had become so dependent on the daily intake that the first week is summon the bollocks, isn't it? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever bollocks you can find to
Yeah.
blag your way through to the end of the first week, and for the physical issues to not vanish but abate. That's when you really have to find your bollocks.
No.
Because I know a lot of people may disagree, but you and I 100% agree that it's all in the mind, it's all psychological, and it's all about fuck off with that self-pitying game. Stop feeling sorry for yourself
Yeah.
and go and own something new. You know, go and own a new life.
Yeah.
Um, it's about willpower.
Yeah.
And when you get ready, or at least you think you're almost ready to have enough willpower to fight it, you have to go for it. And
Yeah.
that first week will be shit. If you're
Mhm.
listening and you think, yeah, I'll just magically not drink, yeah, good luck, not a
Yeah.
chance. It's
No.
horrible.
Brace
So what?
yourself. And
What did you do though in the first week to? Because I did various things. I recall, and we'll talk about them now. What did you do in the first kind of week to 10 days just to keep a drink out your hand?
mate, I probably didn't do the right things. I was actually living in a shared house at the time, so I rented a room with a woman and her son lived there, and I basically had my own ensuite room, and I just clung on for dear fucking life. I knew that I wouldn't be doing anything for at least a week, so I'd literally. This is no advice, by the way, to anyone watching, but I'd literally just sat in my room and done fuck all apart
Yeah.
from try to survive. I'd be ordering Deliveroos and getting the geezer to pass it through the window for me, mate, just so I could eat. But I
Was that
wasn't.
to keep you out of a shop so you didn't buy booze? Or was
Uh,
that?
it it wasn't just that. It was just because I knew that I couldn't function outside. I just my head was a mess. I knew that I wouldn't be able to just be like, "Oh, hello, Susan. You're right. How you doing?" Blah blah blah. I was a shivering wreck, like you said, sweating, no sleep. Um, and when you don't sleep, that fucks with you as well. You're sort of a bit delirious, you know. So it was just a case of trying to get that first week out of the way, and then once that's done, you get a bit of hope. You're like, fucking hell, I've gone a week without drinking.
Yeah, because a week's a long time if you're drinking every
Yeah,
single day. It's a
yeah,
monumentally long time comparatively.
yeah. I remember sometimes I would have a day off, not by choice, but literally because the funds weren't there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. If I had money, I had drink.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
The only time I didn't have a drink was if I didn't have any money.
Yeah, and I would be proud of myself because I
Yeah,
didn't drink. But it's
yeah,
like, yeah, but you couldn't. Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
so
I
so
didn't
yeah,
borrow
that's
money today to have a drink.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Oh, mate, I would text all my pals and be like, "Oh, mate, can you do me a favor and lend me a one? Can you lend me a tenner? Can you lend me a fiver?" And it's fucking poor, but needs must.
Yeah,
Because we needed it, didn't we? We thought we did.
but we
So yeah,
did.
that was what my first week was like. The people that I who lived in a house or whose house it was must have thought, who the fuck is this weirdo? Like, what's he even do? Do you know what I mean? Does he just? Because I work from home as well, so I'd literally roll out of bed in my boxers still, put my headset on because I'd done sales, and I couldn't even have a phone call, man. Like I couldn't even have a conversation with a customer. I'd have to just dial and then put the phone down. It would make me look like I was working.
Right.
But nah, I couldn't do nothing. I was dead to the world. I was useless as fuck.
But mentally, what did you, when the craving hit, and it's pretty much one big fat craving, isn't it? There's not many minutes in those first days where you're not thinking about drinking.
Nah.
What? How did you summon the bollocks?
Um, I'm quite a stubborn fucker, so and I'm quite competitive as well. So
Yeah.
once I'd like to say if I say I'm going to do something, I would do it. And I never actually used to say I was going to quit drinking because I didn't think I had a problem. I don't know what world I was living on, but once I said right, that's it. I didn't go around telling everyone that I'm not going to drink, blah blah blah, because I didn't want to let anyone down. But I just thought, no, fuck it, I'm not drinking. It was literally just pure willpower. There's nothing. There's nothing. I'm not like an inspirational character or anything like that. It was just bollocks and thinking, no, I'm not fucking doing it. It will get
Yeah.
better. Keep telling myself that it will get better. It will get better. It will get better. And it did eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no secret
No.
formula. It's not an exact science. It's different for everyone. Um, but ultimately, the end goal is the same. And I think when you're that dependent on it, if you can do a week, you truly believe at the end of that week that other things are possible.
Yeah.
And there's like a big sense of pride, isn't there, from a week?
Yeah.
Like a week is a huge amount of
Yeah.
time.
Did you download the app that tells you how many days you've gone without drinking or anything like that? Oh no, you probably didn't because you gave up so long ago. It probably didn't
Didn't have
exist.
phones in my day.
No.
No, but I can remember I had a like shitty Samsung phone or something like that, but it did have apps. I remember that much. I quit in 2014,
Oh,
and yes, I had a smartphone. I remember because I remember looking on Facebook on it. but the only thing I downloaded was a meditation app.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Calm or Headspace or any of them. It wasn't like a mega famous one. It was. So I got up on the Tuesday morning and a bit like you, just decided that today I'm not drinking. I was so disgusted with myself from the previous 5 days that I thought there has to come a point where this ends. So I went out, which was a mistake, and I ordered a coffee and a Fanta in a
Oh,
bar, in a
mate.
like a cafe bar that they have in Spain, with the outside terrace. And I really vividly remember being there, and because I wasn't hungover, because my last day drinking was just
Couple.
a couple in the evening and a couple of that I stole out my mate's fridge in the morning. I
Yeah.
didn't have any money, obviously, I didn't have any money till like 6 p.m. So when I got like €50 off my mate that I bumped into that didn't really want to see me, that was enough to get a train home, eat for a few days until I probably had a private English class or something that I could pick up some smash. And then, yeah, so I didn't feel like hanging. I was more like withdrawing. And I had this coffee in the sunny square and a Fanta, and I rang AA, and I thought, I can't be here. It's too much. There's too much temptation. So I went and just sat and lay on the sofa for 4 days. And I just remember downloading an app and trying to meditate. And I remember trying to close my eyes, and it was all, I don't know how I remember this, but it was about, you're a lotus flower. And
Yeah.
you have to like fold up on yourself and imagine you're
Uh,
floating inside this lotus flower. And do you know what? It
mate.
did the trick, man. It just took me. It gave me something to focus on. So I did that. I did a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And the good thing I had, although it was middle of April, it was warm in Seville, warm enough to go out at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I lived in the old town, this beautiful historic old town. So like a nighttime walk was a pleasure, really.
Yeah.
So I just and I hadn't lived there long. It's a really easy city to get lost in. I just walk around these like old ancient streets just to try and take my mind off stuff and
Yeah.
listen to music. If I could create a playlist of maybe 10 songs that I recall from listening to at that time, that would probably like, I don't know, pull up so many emotions just from the
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah.
So I kind of used head down, no, 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 you will not fucking drink this week. Walking and that meditation app,
Yeah.
and it got me to the end of the week.
Good.
Oh, and then on the Saturday I went to AA and they gave me the big book, and the next week I read that cover to cover,
Was
and that's
the
when
was
I
the
really
AA
started. Sorry,
was the AA in Spanish there, was it? Or did they have
no, it was an English speaking AA on the street parallel to mine. It was weird.
like a godsend?
I think so. Yeah, it was bizarre. It was actually in a chapel, so it was.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a beautiful setting. It was very peaceful, and when I walked in there on the Saturday, I just felt I felt at ease after I'd said my piece. My name's Gary, and I'm an alcoholic. And then everybody went for a coffee, and I felt it was just like another tick of something I'd achieved. I'd gone a week or 5 days or something. I'd admitted I had a problem. I'd gone to AA. I'd stood up and said the word alcoholic, and I was like, "Hold on, is this weird momentum that I've never had before?"
Yeah.
And when I remember, because I wasn't working, my job started with it. My usual job was normally from like May until December, and I had time off in the winter months and early spring. And I remember, so I had time to go and read in a cafe. I think the second week I might have gone for like coffee at lunchtime, and I read the big book in the sun, and I thought, "Whoa, this
Yeah.
all resonates with me." And that was my
Yeah.
momentum was there, and I thought, right, come on.
Yeah. I
But
would
yeah,
I
grim.
would if I could turn back time, I definitely would have done it your way. Now I just think walking as a whole, being out in the fresh air, I think that is so important. Just to I don't know what it is. It does something. Do you know what I mean? And it's keeping you occupied because you're doing something instead of
Mhm.
sitting there thinking about how shit you're feeling. You're going to feel even worse. And I would also, as well, to anyone that's thinking of doing it or doesn't think that they can do it or feels alone doing it, AA is incredible. I didn't go until 6 months. So for 6 months, I was trying to do it on my own, and I did do it because I'm a stubborn fucker. But it could have been a lot easier if I went to AA and thought, what the fuck? There's so many people that are the same as me, because it is a mad thing. Because speaking to so many people, people have been there for 20 years, and they're giving you advice for free. It's crazy. They're
And they
actually
want you
so
to,
nice.
yeah, and they want you to succeed.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
my Instagram account that I have individually without you, Sober and Sound, I had no idea that this would be such like a fighting for each other niche. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yours is fitness, you know, predominantly fitness, and like that recovery story and sesh to sober kind of, you know. Or like I don't talk about fitness. I just talk about a lot of the mental aspects of sobriety, and everyone is rooting for you.
yeah,
People are rooting for me in the sobriety niche space, and I'm 10 years sober, and I don't need rooting for. And people are like, "Go, Gary!"
yeah, yeah,
10 years,
yeah,
whoa, you! And I'm like, "Oh yeah, 10 years, fucking sound. That's. I'm glad my life's better, you know."
yeah,
But people are
yeah,
going
yeah,
mad
yeah,
for it. So when you go to AA, everyone's like, the minute you walk in, people are like, "Hello, new project. We want you to get sober."
yeah.
And it might not be like that when you walk into your flat
No,
after a day at work, and your mates are like, "God, I hope you go out because you're a nauseating prick."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
love. It's love from strangers, and love from strangers is great because there's no real attachment to it,
yeah.
you know. So
It's
yeah, really helpful. Long
yeah.
term, not for me, but you know.
I think it's because people who have gone through it know how shit it is being addicted to something that ruins your life in every way possible. So people remember how bad it is, and they don't want anyone else to feel like that. And I do have a lot of sympathy for people now who do have issues with drink, because no one wants to feel like it. It's easy for people who don't have a problem to say, just don't drink. Yeah, but you don't get
Yeah.
it. It's fucking tough. Like, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be addicted to it. Trust me. Yeah, AA and the support that you get with them. I think I only went to 3 or 4 sessions, but in them 3 or 4 sessions, I thought, you lot are all sound.
Yeah. And like your way of going to AA 6 months down the line of being sober is weird in itself. You know,
Yeah, it is.
randomly, just you know, most people might go when they're trying to get those first weeks, you know, under their belt. And
Yeah,
mine was odd in that I went for a little while, and it got to step 4 or whatever it was, and it got all religious, and not religious, my misconstruing of a religious.
can't say that in this day and age.
No, yeah, well, fuck, I want to stay what I fucking like. Yeah, it just wasn't for me long term, and that's cool as well, you know. But it did the
Yeah,
trick, and it provided enough support in the early days, and then I thought, I don't want to.
yeah,
I don't want to be 57 and stand up and go, my name's Gary,
no,
and I'm an alcoholic, even though I've not drunk since I was 33. Come
yeah,
on, man.
yeah. If you
Anyway,
want to, sweet. If you don't want to, that's sweet as well. Doesn't
yeah,
matter.
exactly,
Whatever works
exactly.
for you.
I mean, ultimately, most of the people at AA don't give a fuck, really. They just want you to get sober, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But there is an element to it, probably, and it depends what meeting you go to. Every meeting's different, I believe. I only went to one, but yeah, you know. And then suddenly you're like, hold on, I've not had a drink for 2 weeks. Like,
yeah.
so as it progressed for you, when did you start to think I could maybe do this?
Um, 2 weeks for me was a big one, because my mum always used to say it takes 2 weeks to make a habit.
Mm,
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. When I got to 2 weeks, yeah, that's when I thought I could definitely do it. But my plan wasn't to actually give up alcohol for good. It was to do a 6 week detox, because I thought after 6 weeks I'll be fucking brand new. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
How
skinny.
wrong? How wrong was I? But yeah, 2 weeks was a big one. I thought I still felt shit. I still felt awful, but I thought I'm still alive, and I'm I'm kind of functioning near normal now. But then when I got to 6 weeks, that's when I started feeling better. My face had sort of got less swollen because it wasn't pumped with Stella. Um, I was still a fat cunt, but I started to see some benefits, but I wasn't anywhere near fully there. I still had a long way to go. But because you're going through it, you're thinking, is this it? Is this what life is about? And you think it's not even that much better. So that's why I think a lot of people can relapse and get back on it, because it does take a long time for you to feel the full benefits. But yeah, I'll say after 6 weeks, I was like, I can definitely do this.
Wow. I mean, look at that. 6 weeks to convince yourself it's possible long term.
Yeah,
6 weeks is nothing.
innit?
Nothing. It's harder for me to recall the timeline really, but I do remember. So I quit drinking my last drink was on the 14th of April, and I remember I started work. I don't know why. I do remember. I know why I remember this, because it was the day United won the Champions League, the day of the month. I
Fuck
started on
me.
the not that year, but the 26th of May. I started work, because I remember going into work with all the students going, "Yeah, like so many years ago we won the treble today," and all these kids are like, "Shut up, not interested." But I recall going to work, and I knew a few of the teachers on the first day from previous years, and I didn't know some of the others, but everyone got on really well quickly. And I remember going in, and because it's the type of person I am, and it helped me massively. So if you are like me, I would recommend it. I'd walk in and people would be like, "Oh, nice to meet you. How are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm Gary. I'm 5 weeks sober." Just telling fucking strangers to make myself accountable, you know. So because I knew on Friday they were all going to go out for a drink, and everyone, you know, they
You
didn't they
feel
didn't
like
love me
such a
straight away, but they were like, "Oh, he seems like a nice bloke. I hope he can stay sober." So on a Friday night, I'd be like, "See you later at 6. Just go home straight away after work."
yeah,
And nobody would encourage me to come out. No one would be like, "Oh, come on, why don't you just have one?" Everyone knew I was
yeah,
like
yeah,
on a mission, really.
on it, yeah,
But I remember the first, the end of the first week, we always took a photo with the students, and I saw that got posted on Facebook, and I was like, "I don't look like a fat bastard." And
yeah, mate.
like,
Sick
wow, it's just
feeling.
4 or 5 weeks. The weight was falling off me. So
Yeah,
like visually, I could see a change.
yeah,
Mentally, I could see a change. But I remember being in the first class of the Monday morning. So the first class of the year, I hadn't been in a classroom for 4 or 5 months. And all I could think about was, I need to go home. I need to get sparkling water. I need to get YouTube on. I need to block myself away. I can't wait for this day to be over. I
yeah,
just remember my every second of every day was just thinking
yeah,
about, can I stay sober? Can I stay sober? Can I stay sober?
yeah,
With every walk, every step I took, I was
yeah,
totally consumed with the idea, and I became obsessed with it. And I
yeah,
started to get pride. I started to get momentum, and I started to get, like, what's the word? I started to get a bit rowdy with the whole idea of it. I was like, "No, I am not going to have a fucking drink today," you
yeah.
know?
You got a bit of fight in you.
Yes, totally. And I'd never had that before, ever. I'd always been a pathetic, like, weak-willed drunk. I was like, oh, my life's this way, so I'm going to just
Yeah.
pussy out and have a drink.
There's nothing worse, is there, than being a victim of life? Like, it's so true. It's what you make of it. Don't get me wrong. Some people have tough times or harder times than others, but the
Yeah,
worst thing you can do is have that victim mentality where you're like, "Oh, but this happened, so I'm gonna get fucked and ruin my life." Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's
And
poor.
that's the weak-willed. We spoke about it on the live that we did when we first got to know each other. You are pathetic. You know, like that internal monologue with yourself. You have to win that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's okay to sort of badmouth your previous persona, because it wasn't pretty. And
No.
I started to take on my previous version of myself as the enemy,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to go back to that person, and I
No.
couldn't be asked with the shame anymore, and I couldn't be asked with the fallout from my behavior anymore, and it just became a battle, psychological warfare, really.
Yeah. Who's gonna win? So you realistically, you're probably arguing with yourself, not like a psychopath or anything, but you've still got that voice in your head saying, "Just have a drink and it will be
Yeah.
sweet." But then you've got that other one that's like, "No, you're gonna fucking fight and get through it."
Hmm.
So maybe that's why you felt like that. But I completely agree with you. You have to pay a conscious effort to it at all times, like, because you don't want to slip so fucking badly that you just drum it into yourself that you cannot drink today, and then when you don't, it's a fucking huge achievement. Like, another day done, another day
Hmm.
done, and then it soon builds up, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, because like time flies when you're having fun or you're a big fat alky. It just time flies. It's a fact of life. So you do acquire weeks under your belt quite quickly,
Yeah,
and
just got to buckle up and go for it.
yeah, and as the weeks pass, the excitement of new possible life does start to develop inside you, I think.
Definitely, yeah. You start getting like bits, like glimpses of hope, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Again, that will come in waves. So I actually, like I said, because I'm a mass Googler, I would like Google or YouTube the timeline of sobriety, or why don't I feel great yet? And your brain basically stops. This is my scientific side. Your brain stops producing dopamine after a while because it doesn't need to get any more because it's getting it all from alcohol. That's what happens if you drink every day or more days than not.
Yeah.
Fucking aeroplane. So it stops producing dopamine. So then when you stop drinking, you've got no dopamine in your head or in your brain, which is why you feel so fucked, depressed, anxious, and then eventually your brain will start thinking or starts thinking, I'm not getting dopamine anymore, so I need to pump some in. So it'll pump some in, but then it'll be too much, so it'll drop back down again. And then it will go up, then it will go down again, and that's why you have waves of feeling good and then feeling bad. Yeah, like you said, you get them glimpses of hope and you think, yeah, fuck it, let's go. But then you are still going to feel shit some days or some weeks
Yeah.
for a good few months, at least. Depending on how bad you were, I suppose, or how long you were drinking for.
Well, very true. I recall that my 1 year anniversary, again, my job was due to start in the May, and I rented an Airbnb in the south of France. It sounds very glamorous, but I just
Yeah,
rented.
posh
I rented.
bastard.
I rented a penthouse in Saint Tropez. No, I rented a very small outhouse off a farm on the Canal du Midi near Carcassonne. Like, it was fucking gorgeous, but it was super remote, and I did it on purpose because I wanted to kind of analyze the year. And I was actually teaching online, so I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and doing 3 or 4 classes with Chinese students, and then I'd have the rest of the day to just meditate, cook, walk. And by then I was, I'd lost 5 stone. I was
Fuck. 5 stone.
I was 17 and a half stone when I got sober.
Jeez.
I'm 6'3", so I got away with it to a certain extent. But I look back at some pictures of myself, and I just looked like a blimp, man. Like
Yeah.
you said, and you did as well in those photos that we've used on Reels. I just looked swollen's the best word.
Swollen, yeah.
So like someone had put a water hose inside me and just slowly turned it on for 15
Yeah.
years, and it just gone whoa.
Yeah, yeah. When are you going to pop?
Yeah, or float away. And
Yeah. There's no way you're floating away, you fat cunt.
yeah, not a chance. To the ground forever. And I'd lost so much weight, but my head was still mashed after a year. I was still trying to cope with my emotions. I was still trying to regulate my emotions. I was still trying to find ways to stay more like, almost like not flatlined because that's when you die, but you know what I mean? Like
Level
on a
headed.
level. And
Yeah.
I found the day I woke up on my 1 year anniversary, and I walked along the canal to a French supermarket, and I got loads of healthy food and loads of water, and I walked back in baking heat, and I felt massively uncomfortable mentally and
Hmm.
emotionally. I
Yeah.
I was I was not I was not mentally sober yet.
Yeah. Overwhelmed.
Mate, overwhelmed. I
Yeah.
was I was in that farmhouse for 5 weeks, and I think I got there about a week before the anniversary, and I was uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable experience, the whole thing. And I'm good at being on my own. Only child, love being on my own. Quite transient, generally, have been moved a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a discomfort for me to sit with my emotions. But by then, I was meditating every morning. Tara
Yeah.
Brach, if you're interested, anyone, Tara Brach. We'll put her website in the show notes. Fucking hell, listen to us in the show notes,
Yeah.
baby.
You'll do everyone a demonstration, won't you?
I was listening to her meditations in the morning and then her podcast as I was walking, and yeah, man, my head was fucked still.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's when you start doubting it, isn't it? It's when you're sort of thinking, is this what it's cracked out to be, or am I better off?
What's the point?
Yeah, am I better off
Almost.
just having? Yeah, why am I feeling like this? So many questions as to, and that's probably just why the relapse rate at AA is so fucking sky high, because it can take so long to feel better. You just think, what's the fucking point?
Mm.
But it isn't all doom and gloom, because I'm not saying we fucking made it by any means of the imagination. Do you know what I mean? We've got like 150 followers, if that. But
212, mate.
oh,
Come on.
sorry. But like after, for me, I think it's the first year for me was a complete emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
First 2 weeks were the worst by a country mile. Then you can semi-function, but the first year was an emotional roller coaster. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, and a lot of people have said the same as well, especially at AA. So expect what's the word? I can't think of the word, but expect an up and down year.
Mm-hmm.
After that, for me, things started to get better. There will be more good days than bad days, but there still were a few bad days. And I'm 20 months in now, so it might even get better for me still.
Oh, it will.
Because you said 3 years, didn't you?
I mean, I just remember 3 years starting to feel like I hadn't been an alcoholic. Like the memories had faded, the shame I dealt with, the success I was having professionally was really starting to flourish, you know.
Yeah.
And it'd been that'd been a lot of work, a lot of hard work of just solitude, believing that I could do it, fighting the demons, and also regulating the emotions, which, like we've said this before, but you can't regulate your emotions if you're pissed all the time.
No.
You can't
You're
sort your head
drowning
out.
them, aren't you? Yeah.
You're drowning them in a depressant, you know. But I was just thought of something that I was going to say. Oh, fuck, it was important. It's important, people. Just wait until it comes into my mashed brain. It'll come back to me. But yeah, I mean, no. At the same time, you've also got to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that can take a couple of years. If you're defined as, you know, a big boozing nutcase, which was
Yeah.
definitely the case with me, you've got not only it takes time to it takes time to know how you want to be, and then you have to put it into practice. So that shit takes ages as well. And
Yeah.
by 3 years, I felt like I just had my swagger back. I was slim, slender, was in good shape. I realized that getting sober had added this layer of resilience mentally and emotionally. And I just started to feel like, yeah, this is the Gary that I should have been trying to become in my 20s. So I would say if you are like us, you're going to have to give it a couple of years at least to start to feel like a normal person.
Yeah. But life after a year, or life after, I still think life after a few months of quitting is better than a life drinking, because
Mm-hmm.
if you're anything like me, the only time I wasn't anxious was when I was drinking. So I was just basically existing for years, just a useless fat fuck for years. So having some fight about you, and going through the emotions, it's not all doom and gloom, because you're working towards something, and you're making yourself a better person, and you're making your future better. You're going to have a better relationship with your family. So don't sort of be scared about making the change, but don't think it's going to be easy.
And don't be put off by the low points, because there is no way around that. You have to have them.
No. What tips would you give your old self if you was to do it all over again? What helped you the most? Meditating, I'm guessing, was a big thing for you.
Meditating was massive for me
Yeah.
because it gave me a daily opportunity to. I think a lot of people that have never meditated before think that meditating's eliminating thoughts from your brain, when in fact it's having the ability to relax enough to let them come, recognize what they are, and then just let them go.
Yeah.
And that technique of letting go of things lingers through the day. If you meditate every day, it's you're flexing that sober muscle, as we keep saying. And then I just made better decisions, and I had more clarity at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I was meditating religiously at 8 a.m. every day, 7 a.m. So it gave me, I was able to let go of my emotions, but to recognize them and see them for what they were was just massive. So I would meditate, and if it's uncomfortable and hard to sit with them, tough shit. What are you going to do? Ignore them again?
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of emotions because you've bottled them up for so long that it does hit you like a brick wall, doesn't it? So you have to face up to it. You have to face adversity, unfortunately, don't you?
Yeah. And I don't know if you felt like this, but I felt when I was drinking that I wanted to deal with my emotions, but I didn't know how to because I was so anxious or so depressed or
Yeah,
so stressed about another debt collector or what I'd done that I remember like walking to work and saying to myself, often the walk to work in the morning was a bad time because you're woken up and you've got all those
yeah,
stresses on your mind.
yeah,
And I'd walk to work and be like, just fucking slow down, man. Just
yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah,
couldn't. It was like that the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah. Think about it. Your brain will always do. It will always do the easy thing, and it will choose the easy option. So if you have 101 things going through your mind, and you can either sit there sober and battle like fuck and have a shit day, or you could just have a couple of pints and it'll all be gone.
Mm.
You're gonna have a couple of pints, aren't you?
Yeah,
Because then you know that them issues or them problems or worries that you had, they will all disappear until
yeah,
the morning.
yeah. You know, you want. Do you want the quick, easy route that's going to prolong your misery, long term,
Yeah,
or do you want the arduous daily graft to finally release yourself from all that shit? And the second option is the only way you can get sober.
100%.
Because physical sobriety, one thing, but I mean, after a while, it's all about emotional sobriety, mental sobriety. It's just a
Yeah,
game of toughness. I saw something the other day that someone said, sobriety, getting sober is not about willpower. And the comments underneath it, I was like, yes, people know. What the fuck are you on about? It's all about willpower.
yeah.
If
How's
it's
it
not
not?
about willpower, what else is it about?
Isn't it? That's thrown me. I would have been like, what the fuck? If I saw that.
Oh, I mean, it got an absolute pounding in the comments. It's that excuse mentality. It's
Yeah,
not willpower. You have to wait until it happens. No, you don't. You've got to go and.
yeah, 100%. But this is the soft generation that we live in these days. Everyone's so soft on each other. It's like just have another drink and deal with it another day. It's like, no, sort your fucking life out if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't moan about something. You can't moan about your life when you're consuming the thing that is making your life miserable. It's not rocket science, is it? If you don't want to live a certain way, then change it. If you want to do a certain thing, do it.
And we're not saying, "Look at us, we're so special." We're admitting that we were absolute.
I was runt of the litter, scumbag,
Let's
whatever you want to
say it.
call
Let's
me.
say it. Yeah.
Whatever you want to
Okay.
call me.
Addiction's hard. Addiction's complicated. It's it's a negative thing. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But man, just we were pathetic, and then we became less pathetic.
Yeah. And as cliche as it sounds, if we can do it, um, then literally anyone can. Because I felt like if I didn't have a drink, I know this is weird because I've never had a stroke, touch wood, but I felt like if I was hungover and needed a drink, I feel like I was gonna have a fucking stroke or something. That's how I felt. So to go from that and then not drinking for 21 months, it should give people a lot of hope.
Mate, of course it should. I think if we can get sober, and that's not to make us look like we were well hard and cool because we drank
Nah,
so much, but
nah.
there's not a lot you can actually do more than drink all the time you're awake. And we did that, and we got ourselves into all kinds of states and trouble, and we are now healthy, happy. It's not even about that, is it? It's about enjoying those moments of contentment once you get sober, and then you realize when you're sober, life is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but life is so different. Like, you appreciate things, which is mad.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
mad.
But little
Yeah,
things, and that's when you said, what tips would I have? I would have tips for me would be meditate. It's a simple, free thing, and don't knock it until you've tried it. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your thoughts. I would say get moving.
yeah,
And I mean, even if that's a 1 kilometer walk and getting in and around nature. I mean, these are like old as time tips,
yeah,
but they are cliche for a reason.
yeah,
You can't drink if you're well, you could because you talked about a rucksack of beers last week, but you can't drink if you're on a 6K march. Do you know what I mean? You can't unless you're
yeah. No,
unless you were you 5 years ago.
yeah, mate, yeah. No, I know what you mean. Though, if you keep your mind occupied as much you can with a
Hmm.
physical activity, there is less chance that you're going to be thinking about booze.
Yeah. And the momentum picks up, and like the improvement of your life, it's just exponential, isn't it? It's like, oh yes, and then that you've got things to cling on to. So don't give up hope, but don't expect it to be fixed overnight.
No, no, but it will be worth it for everyone that is
It
struggling.
will.
It is fucking worth it.
It really is. It is. That's a nice way to end, I think. Well
Yes, mate.
put. Sound man.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for listening, everybody. That was episode 2 of The Sober Stretch. You can find us on @The Sober Stretch. We're on Instagram. We'll be posting reels of clips the week before of each episode to tease you into wanting to watch it. Where can they find you individually, mate?
At live without limits _coaching. So I basically use exercise as a replacement, an addiction replacement, a healthy addiction for a bad addiction. That was my thing.
And it looks like it's working just a treat. And my individual pursuit is sober and sound, sober letter N sound, where I talk about all things sobriety and pretty much all things honest about alcoholism. So find us there, people. We look forward to seeing you next week. Craig, pleasure. Take it easy,
Thank you so
bro.
much. Cheers, bro.
Great
Bye.
man. Sound.